Buschmann is with me this morning, who came to this country from Germany in 1911, and that's what he's going to tell us about today. Okay, Mr. Buschmann.
How I decided to come to the United States in 1911. My brother Gustav, who had been here 11 years in St. Louis, came to visit me, and I took off for 2 weeks and showed him Berlin and surroundings. So one day, we came out of the castle Sanssouci, built by Frederick the Great, and we came down the steps. We seen a big monument being erected. We stopped and read on an extra sign the inscription which later on would be engraved in this monument, and it was for Friedrich Wilhelm von Steuben. This monument was built by the United States, paid $50,000, and it was dedicated to the Germans on account of Friedrich Wilhelm von Steuben, who was the general who trained the army for George Washington. And while we read the inscription, my brother made the remark, Steuben done all right for himself, why don't you come to the United States? Before that I had no idea of coming here. So within 5 minutes I made up my mind, and the next day we bought a ticket on the North German Lloyd to St. Louis. So that time, Friedrich Wilhelm von Steuben was honored by the American government, who erected a Steuben monument in Washington in 1910, and a year later, in 1911, in Potsdam, Germany. Now, when I came here, I started singing in church chorus in 1911 at the Evangelical Lutheran Science Church on 20th and Benton. At that time, we had about 28 singing societies. And about 3 years later, I joined the North St. Louis Bundeschor, which had their own hall. It was an old church on 14th and Howard. Later on, I joined the Apollo Singing Society, who had their own hall on 9th and Bremen. And a few years later, I joined the Liederkranz Club, in which I have been singing now for 45 years. And at the present time, I sing also in the Harmony Singing Society, and I'm a member there for 25 years.
You've been singing a long time.
A long time.
Do you sing tenor, Mr. Buschmann?
No, second tenor, but I sang second bass too already.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I love to sing.
Is your voice changing as you get older or not?
Well, I guess it had changed already before I came here, because I was 24 years old when I came here. I served yet in the German army under Kaiser Wilhelm.
Did you sing in Germany?
No, I had no time, because I was wandering from one city to another, you know. And I must say I didn't like it here when I came here in St. Louis, because St. Louis, the Union Station was okay, but when you came outside on Market Street, it was terrible.
Well, then what made you join the singing societies when you first came here?
Well, I love to sing, you know, and I know I had a pretty strong voice. I may not so good, but it was strong.
So did you meet a lot of Germans at these other?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I joined the Deutsche Theaterverein. We had about 600 members there, you know, and I had a good time in all these different societies.
What kind of work did you do?
I'm a painter and decorator by trade.
Well, did you do that when you first came?
Yeah, I learned that in Germany. And in 1929, I went in business for myself. And now I'm retired, already for 16 years, and live a good life.
Very fine. You can't beat that. What I'd like for you to tell me is what St. Louis was like when you came, and how many Germans were here, and if you had trouble meeting other people or getting acquainted in St. Louis?
No, at that time was really easy, because we didn't have no automobiles. We had to take the streetcars, and therefore, you know, we always got closer together, you know, and you made friends much faster. As I say, all these singing societies, you know, there was no, we had no automobile. We were forced to take the streetcar or walk.
Well, and then what did you do with your free time besides joining singing societies?
Well, as I say, I was painter and decorator, and of course all these singing society, they gave their entertainment, you know. We done a lot of dancing besides singing, you know.
Do you think that was one of the main reasons to join one of these clubs?
It was.
The dancing and the singing?
Yeah,
And
it
really
was.
the fun and the good times that you
Yes.
had.
But
You drink a lot of beer?
Oh yes, yes. Oh yeah. That time, you know, you could buy 5 glasses of beer for a nickel because you went with a bucket to the saloon, and you just held it under the faucet till the bucket was full, and it generally contained about 5 glasses and cost 5 cents.
Well, tell me what you remember about St. Louis when you first came.
Well, around Union Station it was dirty. They had all them old buildings there, you know, and they had wares hanging on the sidewalk, you know, in daytime and at nights to push them inside. And it's the same way in the front of the City Hall, which of course was all torn down, as we know now. And it's a beautiful city now in the certain parts. Of course, we're not talking about these slums, you know.
And then what kind of living arrangements did you make when you first came?
Well, I stayed with my brother in board, and I paid $5 a week. And that was cheap them days.
Well, that was,
yeah,
it was reasonable then.
Yeah,
though,
yeah.
wasn't
But
it?
still, I could even go to cheaper places, you know, was even $4 a week, you know, some of them paid. But
And when did you marry yourself then?
in 1919, after the World War. But during the World War, I had to be a real nice boy because we had to be registered, you know, with the police, and our fingerprints had to be on a card, and I was only allowed in certain zones. I couldn't pass no bridges. I couldn't go to Jefferson Barracks anywhere, you know. I had my certain zones where I worked in.
And you had to have permission to
Oh,
go
yes.
from zone to zone
Yeah.
in St. Louis.
Yeah,
it
I
says.
had a fingerprinted card in my pocket with my picture on it, that I was Henry Buschmann.
And about how big was this zone? Say, for instance, you lived in North St. Louis at this time?
Yeah, well, I could go downtown, and I could go, as long as I didn't pass any bridges, I go to anywhere in St. Louis, you know.
Now,
Yeah,
was
but not to East St. Louis.
Was this during the day, or during the day
Well, there were
and
no
the evening?
restrictions in times, you know, yeah, anytime.
I see. And, you know, so many people say that there was a lot of feeling against German-speaking people during World War I. By this time, were you learning English?
Oh, yes, yes. I made it my business to learn English, you know. I took private lessons, and at nights I went to night school.
And where was that?
At the McKinley High School in South St. Louis. I went about 3 years to night school there. We had a wonderful teacher, and I learned pretty fast.
Did you study anything else besides English?
No, no,
And were these lessons free?
no. I had a small amount. I don't know. It was very small. What we had to pay for
Yeah.
this night school.
Now, you told me once before that you can remember rocks coming through the window when you were singing.
Yeah, I was singing in the
practicing.
North St. Louis Bundeschoor during 16, 17, 18, and I know one night we were singing, and the rocks came through the window because the hate against Germany was terrific, because they had all kinds of names for us, the Huns and the Butches, and the Prussians were hated the most, you know, and I have to say, I'm a Prussian, you know.
Yes, I forgot to ask you, were you born in Potsdam?
No, I was born in Westphalia, but Westphalia belongs to the Kingdom of Prussia. Yeah.
It's in what would be the eastern zone of Germany now. It's in East Germany now.
No,
isn't it?
Westphalia is in the western zone.
Now?
Yeah, yeah. We're not far, you know. We're close to Bremen, you know, and Province Hanover, you know. We border right on the Dutch border.
Oh, did you ever experience any physical violence during World War I?
No, not physically, no. But we had to be very careful that we didn't make a wrong move and said a wrong word, you know.
Did you ever see anybody beaten up or anything?
Well, I know in one case, a miner in the neighborhood of Fribourg, where they have the coal mines, he refused to buy any more Liberty bonds. He had $2,000 was already. They hung him up in broad daylight.
In St. Louis?
No, in Illinois, not far
Oh.
from Belleville.
Oh,
In broad daylight,
Oh, uh-huh.
because he refused to buy any more Liberty bonds. He was a coal miner.
Uh-huh.
But during the war, nothing was done because they knew who done it. But then after the war, they were taken to trial and they got several years of penitentiary.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, for the purposes of this tape, I'm really the most interested in what happened in St. Louis. If you would go to these German halls, say where the singing societies met, did you have any trouble getting in and out, or did people make fun of you going in?
Oh, no, not at all.
During the World War I, I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah. During the World War, yes. Then we had to be careful, you know.
Mhm.
Yes.
And is there anything else that you remember about the anti-German feeling in World War I?
Well, as I say, you know, we wasn't hardly allowed to speak German, you know, in public, because then right away, you know, we were pointed out, you know. And
You mean, and if you spoke German, say on a streetcar,
yeah,
yes, what would happen then?
Well, I was talking one time with my friend in the street, we talked German, you know,
Mhm.
and he said, "Why don't you take United States? Talk United States." And my friend, he was pretty fast on the trigger. He said, "Well," he said, "why don't you learn German? Then you could understand us."
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he was alone, and we were two, so
Mm-hmm.
he didn't say anything
Oh, I
against us.
see.
He left to school.
Yeah, okay. But you didn't lose your job or anything?
No, oh no,
Did you have any trouble getting work
no, not at all.
because you were German?
No, but I know that they have spied on me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. My boss, who I've worked for, he later told me that the Secret Servicemen had been and asked him what kind of man I was, if I could be trusted, or if I could be bought as a spy. But my boss told him, no, he says, Henry just wants to have a good time and make quite a bit of money, and he's satisfied with that. He's not mixed up in politics.
Mm-hmm. Well, so you yourself didn't get into any trouble during World War I?
Yeah, one time I did, if you allow me to tell this, you know.
Yes, I want you to.
But there were a lot of Germans here who neglected to become citizen, and I took out my first papers within the first 2 weeks. And when the 5 years were up to apply for citizenship, I did. And then the war broke out, and this already was during the war, but I didn't think that we would be taken in. So a fellow named Brock, he was with some society. He sent me a card, and they wanted to have a meeting in order to send in a petition to our congressmen and senators to become citizens during the war, because the law was that we could not become citizens as long as these two countries, Germany and the United States, were involved in a war. So I went to this meeting, and when I came there, of course, I was surprised. I was the only one in the military age, and the others were all old people, up to 75, 80 years old. And then Brock, the president or the secretary of the YMCA, told us then that we would form a committee and sign the papers, sign this petition. And I couldn't see it, so I walked out. But that was bad, because about 3 reporters followed me and said why I walked out. He said, well, he says, I'm satisfied with the law we have, and says, I'm not going to change it or help changing it. He says, I'm satisfied. But that put me in bad. The next day I got a letter from the United States Marshal Lynch at that time, and I had to appear down there And of course the papers were all full, and of course the papers, they had it so turned around that it sounded bad, that I refused to become a citizen now, and that I didn't want to fight against my own kinfolks in Germany. And of course then I was up against it, but I looked for a politician, and he knew me, and he spoke up for me to Marshal Lynch. There was nothing wrong, because I had done nothing wrong, because I had been satisfied with the law the way it existed. So Marshal Lynch, gentleman, told me, I know this man stands up for you, he vouches for you, so just go home and obey the laws and keep your mouth shut.
Well, that's...
So I got out of that, because I know some other fellows were put in prison for a less violation than what I was supposed to have done, and stayed there for several months before they were released.
Yes, what did they do?
Well, just under suspicion. One drove an automobile. They thought, he made too much money, that he was paid off by the German government as a spy, Mm-hmm. He was in jail for about four months.
Do you think there was any truth to that?
No, there was no truth in it, because I know the fellow. He died about 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. He was a nice man, but he made good money and bought an automobile.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you think there were any other German-speaking people in St. Louis who were actually spies for the German government?
Not that I know of. No, not one. No.
Was it in the gossip around, in the people you knew? They didn't suspect anyone?
Well, I knew there was some under suspicion, but as I say, I have no proof, and I didn't associate with anybody what could be bought for us as a spy.
Yes, was it ever possible for you to be drafted into the United States
Not
Army?
at that time. See, we had a law there. There was a law there. As long as we were involved in war, I mentioned it before, we could not be drafted, because I was still a citizen of Germany.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Therefore, they could not draft me. But as I say, this meeting was called in order to change that law.
Yes, I believe that law has been changed now.
It has changed now.
Because during World War II, non-citizens were drafted. That's right.
Even, my wife lost her citizenship born in St. Louis because she married an alien enemy in 1919. And there was a law out for 3 years that she lost the citazenship because she married me as an alien.
Wow.
So she, in 1926, she became a citizen again.
What do you know? That's interesting.
That law was in existence only 3 years.
And did she regain her citizenship automatically?
No, she had to pay for it.
She had to apply
had to go
again.
the same rigmarole like I did to become a citizen.
Wow, that's interesting.
And of course, when I wanted to be a citizen, when the war was over, they had all the, and I was called before the judge to become a citizen, and then they had all the strips from the papers on my record. And when I seen them papers, I knew what was up. So, and the papers were read in the form they were printed, of course, it was lies. The whole thing was misconstrued, was not at all the way I had said it in that meeting. So when the judge, he just listened to it, he said, well, you have to wait a long time before I make you a citizen. Get out of here. But the next fellow came in the chair next to Judge Dyer, and he was an Italian, and the judge asked him, he says, do you believe in spaghetti? And the Italian says, I should say so. Well, he said, then you make a good citizen.
Oh, so you had to wait then to get your citizenship.
Yeah, I had
when
to wait
did you finally get it?
In 1928.
Oh, and your wife didn't get hers till 1929?
No, before that. He made 26 already, because she was born here,
Yes.
She got it before me.
Well, did you have to go to report every year, like they do now, to the post office?
No, not that time, no. I just, as I say, in 1928 I applied again. Of course, he still had all these strips out of the paper, but the fellow, when he seen it, he was very nice. And well, he said, the war is over so long, we forget about it. And he interviewed me of my knowledge of our laws and so forth, and I could answer them pretty correctly, and I had no trouble.
So, did this make you feel bad when you were denied your citizenship?
Oh, that was bad. I felt so bad.
And did it make you feel bitter? In your heart, huh?
Yeah.
In your heart. And what year did you first apply?
Well, I took the first citizenship paper out, and it was only 2 weeks, you know. And then I had to wait.
In 1911?
And the first papers had to be 5 years old before applying again. So I applied in 1916 when the war was going on already, but not between Germany and the United States.
Right.
See?
And then it came up again. In what year?
Well, and then when the war was over, I was called in then to become a citizen. See, but then they had this against me.
In 1919?
Yes. Then they held it against me.
So you waited 9 more years then to apply?
Yeah, I had to wait because I was refused, and I had to apply again in I waited till 1928.
Yes, well that was hard, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, as I say, the hatred was so great, much greater in the First World War against the German element than in the Second World War.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, yeah.
Is there anything else that you can think of to tell me about your reactions, or the reactions of the German community in World War I?
Well, no, the only thing, as I say, you know, I came out the cleanest city in the world, and that was Berlin, Germany, which was even once in print in the Post Dispatch. And I would have gone back again, but then when the war broke out, I couldn't get back, and when the war was over, of course, Germany was starving, and we had here plenty, so I was forced to stay here.
But you did think about going back then?
Yes. When I came here first, I didn't like it because it was too dirty. All this smoke, you know, we burned all them soft coal them days, you know.
Yeah.
I thought it was terrible.
But then after you got a job?
Well, I got a job right in that first spring because as a painter and decorator, I had to wait till the next spring for that. That whole winter, I learned English.
And then you thought about going back at the beginning, and then you thought about going back after World War I also.
Well, no, then as I say, then Germany was starving, and I went on a visit in 1922. And they were still starving in 22. Yes, I made a tour on the Rhine, and I couldn't get no milk there, you know, no milk and no ice cream, you know, which I liked so much.
So you thought you better come back, huh?
Yeah. Well, I knew then I was married then already, you know, I knew I was coming back. Just go there for a visit, you know, and see my folks, you know.
I see.
Because I come from a big family, you know, and a family of 12.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
And was this your oldest brother that was over here?
The oldest brother was here, and I was the 10th in the family, you know, and I'm the only survivor of the all 12.
Oh, you were baby brother, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now tell me about some of the other German-American societies
Well,
that you belong to.
I know the German things, all the societies have suffered like any other societies. I know they all have their troubles on account the automobile, the radio and television. That has driven us apart.
Yes, what societies did you belong to when you first came?
Well, first to the church on 20th and Benton, and then I joined the North St. Louis Bundeschool in 13, and then they gave up already in 22, and then I joined the Apollo Singing Society on 9th and Bremen. And then we united with the Freie Männerchor, which was a group formed out of the Free Thought Society on 20th and Sullivan. They had their hall. And then in 24, I sang most of the times in two singing societies. I joined the Liederkranz Club. And later on, I joined the Harmony Singing Society.
And what year was that?
That's, well, I'm an honorable member already, 25 years ago.
And you sang with both of those at the same time?
Yeah.
So you would go 2 nights a week? You'd go to
That's right.
You'd go to
Yeah.
Liederkranz and Harmony?
Sometimes I had special rehearsals and concerts. Sometimes I was singing 4 or 5 nights in 1 week.
Now, besides the singing societies, what other kind of
Well, the
organizations?
Deutsche
did you belong to?
Theaterverein, I joined that in 1913, was a strong society. We had about 600 members.
And what kind of a society was that?
Deutsche Theaterverein, we supported the German theater, which was, the theater was played when I came here in the old Odeon on South Grand. And then they built the Victoria Theater on Delmore, not far from Grand. And there, the German theater stayed in there, you know, of course, through the First World War. When the war was over, they had to close up too. And then we played in the Eagle Hall on Jefferson and Lafayette for several years after the First World War, you know.
When you say German theater,
That was German theater, yeah.
do you mean a professional theater?
Yeah, professional actors there. They all came from Germany, and we had our theater. And they, in winter, they played every Sunday night.
They gave serious plays?
Yeah, even operettas. Yes. I even here and there that took small parts.
Do you mean some of the members of this society would also take parts?
In what society?
Where this society that supported the German theater, some of the members would also take
Oh
parts?
yes, sure. About
But
prominent St. Louisans, you know, businessmen, you know.
But the leading members were professional actors.
Yeah, the actors were, you know, Professor Loeb that time. Loebel. Yeah.
About how many years were German plays performed?
Oh, I believe they started already before the beginning of this century, and then, as I say, they played in the Odeon up to 1914, and then to the Victoria Theatre, and then they had to sell out there on account of the war, and then in the Eagle Hall, and then finally, of course, around 24, 25, I believe they gave it up.
Entirely.
Entirely, yeah. But the German Theatre Society stayed in existence yet, you know, the members, you know, that was just, you know, we were there mainly to support the German theatre.
It's gone now entirely.
It's gone
though.
entirely, yeah.
And did you belong to any fraternal organizations, insurance groups, or anything like that?
No, ma'am. No.
Did you belong to any other German-American clubs when you first came?
No, that's the singing societies, and then of course, and then the Steuben Society, you know, which is a society.
Well, tell me about the Steuben Society.
Well, the Steuben Society is a society all over the United States, and we have a Steuben statue in Tower Grove Park, which came to this country by the German government to our World's Fair in 1904. It was sold at the World's Fair to August Busch, and from there it was sold again to Steuben member Louis Oliver. And he donated this statue to the Steuben Society. And it was located in a Liederkranz garden, and a lot of people didn't know because it was not exposed to the general public. It was inside the garden. But then the Liederkranz Hall was sold about 3 years ago, and we had to get rid of the Steuben statue, and I made the arrangement with the St. Louis Park commissioners or the board of directors, and they took that statue to the park and spent $4,000 to get it in the right shape again. And 2 years ago, at the Steuben convention, we dedicated this statue in Tower Grove Park. And it's a society spread all over.
Yes, what kind of a
United
society
States.
is it?
Well, that's this General Steuben, you know, he trained the army for General Washington.
Yes, but what does this society do?
Well, we uphold German traditions, you know.
Do you meet?
Oh, yes, yeah.
And there's a chapter.
Every
in
3
St.
years I have a convention. Last year I was to the convention in Los Angeles. And 4 years ago, no, 3 years ago, we had it in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
And at that convention, we unveiled a statue in Tower Grove Park.
That was in 1969?
Right.
1968?
69.
1969.
70, no, I believe 68, I believe.
1968. You had it was an annual convention.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And they come here from all over the United States.
Mm-hmm.
They are strongest on the East Coast, but Los Angeles and San Francisco were represented too.
Is there a chapter here now in St. Louis
Yeah,
still?
oh yes, yeah.
And where do they meet?
We meet once a week in the Schwaben Hall on South Jefferson.
Do you go?
Oh yes,
Mm-hmm.
I'm there all the time because I've been president of that organization years ago.
Is it a fraternal club? For instance, tell me what you do at your meetings.
Well, just uphold the German tradition. If they you know, if they want to make laws like immigration laws, you know, which would hurt the German public, you know, and all that, you know. We have strong representation in our Congress, you know. We have several congressmen and senators belonging to the Steuben Society.
Oh, is that so?
Even Dixon from Illinois, he was a member of the Steuben Society.
Who was that?
Dixon,
Oh,
Senator Dixon.
Oh, Senator Everett Dirksen.
Yeah, Everett
Mhm.
Dixon.
Mm-hmm.
And here, Curtis, representative in Congress, is a member today yet.
Oh, Thomas Curtis.
Thomas Curtis.
Uh-huh. And I imagine from some of the states, like, say, for instance, Wisconsin.
Oh
which
yes,
has a lot
and
of big
especially
German-
New York, you know.
New York
yeah,
and
yeah.
Pennsylvania.
I know quite a few because I meet these fellows at these conventions, you know, which I generally go to, and we have a steady office in New York, you know.
Yes. What are you doing now in the Steuben Society? What is current? Like, for instance, if you went this week or last week, what would they be talking about now?
Well, to see that we have better laws, you know, like, you know, the laws are not enforced, you know, so we have law and order here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That is our main aim now, you know, to vote for the right people, to see that we get law and order again.
Oh, do you mean as far as crime
Yeah.
is concerned?
Oh, yes,
That's
yes.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I see.
Oh yes. Then here and there we invite speakers, you know.
Do you talk about possible candidates for
Yeah. Oh
various
yes.
elections?
Yeah. Yeah.
So would you
we
say-
discuss these candidates which we think are the best for our country.
Mm-hmm. Do you? So then, would you call this a political
Yeah.
club?
It is a political organization.
Uh-huh.
But it has to have a name. Before the First World War, they had a German-American, they call it Deutsch-Amerikanischer Nationalbund, German-American National Organization. And they had to disband through law by our Congress. They had to disband in 1917 during the World War because the hatred was so great against anything what was German. And then after the war was over, instead of put new life in the German-American Association, we formed the Steuben Society. It's a replacement, you can say, for the Deutsch-Amerikanischer Nationalbund.
And what year was that?
In 19. Yeah. So we celebrate our 50th anniversary here in 69.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, They started, now I know it was in 69. We have 50 years in
That
existence.
you had the National Convention here.
Right.
Okay.
And we celebrated our 50th anniversary.
So, well, then you are pretty busy in your spare time. You've been going to the Steuben Society, and you've been singing with Liederkranz
Yeah,
and
and then I
Harmony.
belong to a German shooting association. We call ourselves the Schützenverein. We have our shooting, and we give out our medals for the fellows what shoot the best.
Is this a pistol
No,
shooting?
we have big rifles.
Oh, it's a rifle?
Yeah.
And do you still meet?
Yeah, oh yes, we meet.
When is that? Where do you do that?
Well, we meet at, most of the time we meet in these people that have a big Ratskeller, you know, they have an air rifle, which can be used. Oh, it's a heavy thing, and it costs $150, you know, nothing cheap.
But how often do you go to this?
We practice once a month, and then we have our balls, you know, dances, and picnics.
It seems to me that of all the societies that you've told me about, that all of them have a social aspect to them. You always have dances and picnics.
Yes,
and
oh yes, we come together, you know, bring our ladies along, you know, and have, even here 2 weeks ago we had a kind of a party in Illinois restaurant, you know, dinner, you know, dinner party, and after dinner we had our music there and we danced. Oh yeah.
I think the only other thing that I wanted to bring up today that we haven't talked about is it seems to me that on the early programs of the singing societies, which I've uncovered, that the music was a much more serious and classical than what was sung by the groups later on. You think this is true?
Oh yes, yeah. We had what I call real music, you know. Now, you know, when this, what you call it now, this modern music, you know, it's not to our liking.
You mean the older members?
Yeah, we still have classical music, you know.
But it seems to me that what the singing societies sing now and say in the last 25 or 30 years, that the selections are more on the popular vein, whereas old programs that I've examined from the 19th century would be the classical composers like Schubert and Bach and Gounod.
Well, in some respects, here and there we sing here and there American songs too, you know, but we still, we don't practice these ragtime songs, you know. That's beyond us, you know.
I understand that, but I mean, but what I meant, it seemed to me that the old programs are more classical. You might say heavier, more serious music.
That is right.
Than what you're singing nowadays.
Well, it's not much difference.
No?
Of course, they have new songs, and we sent for them from Germany, you know. Pick out something, you know, which we like and which we can perform, you know, because our liabilities, or I will say our knowledge in singing, you know, is not too great. You know, most of us can't read notes, you know, but we learn just the same.
From the others, or from your accompaniments?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Well, did we leave anything out today, do you think?
No, I don't think.
It seems to me you've lived a very happy life, haven't you?
Yes, I traveled a lot, you know.
Have you?
Yes, I traveled all over the world.
That's wonderful.
I made a trip around the world in 80 days. That was wonderful. I'll never forget that.
Well, it seems to me you must have been quite financially successful, too,
Well,
then, to come
I was
here.
successful in business.
Yeah, successful in business. Did you have your own business?
Yeah.
And you,
for
because
30 years.
You came here really without any money, didn't you?
Yeah, I had about, I believe, $800.
Mm.
Yeah, that was my mid-gift from my estate, that little farm at home, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I was beginning anyhow. That time, $800, you know, meant quite a bit.
And how old were you then? When you
24.
24 years
Yeah.
old, yeah.
Yeah, I was a soldier in the German army, you know, for 2 years.
So you had worked in Germany also then?
Yeah, I
You
learned my
had some
trade.
experience.
I learned my trade
Yes,
in Germany.
in Germany.
And then I traveled, you know, from one city to another, you know, to gain more knowledge in our line, you know, work.
Oh, and I believe you mentioned to me once before that you have been back to Germany to singing to, well, what is the word? Sangerfest.
Yeah, Sangerfest or Sangerbund, you know, yes. I even got the golden pin because I sing now 60 years already, and they kind of associated with the German Sangerbund. And I got the golden pin. And I got the silver pin for 25 years, and the golden pin is for 50 years.
Well, do you ever go to the National Sangerfest in Germany?
Oh yes, I've been there to 3 of them.
Uh-huh.
2 were in Stuttgart, and in '62 I had an invitation from Mayor Tucker to bring it to Dr. Engels, the president of the German Sangerbund, to come to us here in St. Louis in '64 to our Sangerfest.
Did he come?
And he did come.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he delivered the keynote speech in the Kiel Convention Hall.
In 1964, that's when you had the big
64.
National Sangerfest
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
in St. Louis, the
Yeah.
25th anniversary National Sangerfest, wasn't it? Our 45th?
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, well, yeah, that's it. That has, now I don't know how many, what it was now. I think the number of years, you know, but yeah. It was a
Anyway.
National Sangerfest.
Yes, there have been other National Sangerfests here too.
Oh yes, we have it here in America, you know. We have it every 3 years.
Mm-hmm. In St. Louis, though, they've been held about 8 or 9 times, I guess.
Well, I know only 2 of them. We had it in '34 and now in '64.
Yeah, but there were some in the 19th century too. I believe I've seen programs.
Oh yes, every 3 years.
72 was here and 1888 was here too.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
have we covered everything? Can you think of anything else?
No, I believe I
You're getting tired, I guess.
no,
huh?
I'm not getting tired. I enjoy this, you know, because it brings a lot of things back in my memory, you know, which I had almost forgotten.
Right. Well, probably this afternoon you'll be even thinking of some
Yeah,
more things.
but I forgot.
I certainly want to thank you very much. And
I've been 10 times in Germany since the war.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I belong to a singing society in Germany yet, too.
Oh, do you an honorary member?
Yeah,
Uh-huh,
yeah.
right.
It's my hometown.
Oh, in your
Yeah,
hometown.
Yeah.
Well, we'll deposit this now, this tape in our oral history section. And we are trying to take tape recordings of people who have an interesting story like you have to tell. So I will certainly thank you for coming. And I'll say at the end of this tape that this is Irene Corton-Novus of the History Department at the University of Missouri at St. Louis. And I've been talking today with Mr. Henry Buschmann, who came to the United States from Germany in 1911.